What's going on, guys? My name is Merp Baller, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Empire of Sigmar mod for Total War Warhammer. This mod is really good if you don't like the diversity they have in Total War Warhammer, because it's fairly plain, especially for the Bretonnia faction. This mod adds a ton of new units to all the factions except for the Dwarven faction. Anyway, so let's get right into it. First, we're going to start off with the Empire. So this mod gives the Empire 8 different infantry units, 3 ranged units, and 7 different cavalry units. Most of these units are just regular units, but they have different weapons, and the cavalry is completely new. I'll show you all that in just a second. So first up here we have the Teutogen Guard. These are going to be your heavier infantry units because they have hammers. They're fairly effective against other infantry units, so let's move on to the next one. So here we have the Altdorf Company of Honor. These guys are going to be good against cavalry units, as they have very effective halberds. So here we have the Dismounted Reichsguard. These guys are going to be really heavy infantry units with their very effective shields. These guys are going to be ones you want to put on the front line. So let's move on to the next. So right here, this is the Dismounted Reichsguard with great weapons. They are very effective against pretty much everybody because their great weapons are pretty awesome. So these are your flagellants. These are light axe infantry. These guys are actually pretty effective even though they have lighter armor than their other counterparts. These are the Death's Hand. These guys are your lighter spear infantry. These guys are very good at taking out cavalry charges. Very good on the front line too. So here we have some more Dismounted Reichsguard, but this time they have halberds. These guys are going to be your tougher frontline units for sure. So next up we have my personal favorite, the Caribou great swords. These guys are the lighter great swords, but they're definitely very effective against infantry, archers, anything you can imagine. And they're pretty expensive, but fairly effective against pretty much everything. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the ranged units for the Empire. So first up we have the Nolan Engineers with Hochland long rifles. These guys are very good at ranged combat. Can take out enemy units from long ways away. So they're very effective at. So here we have some more Nolan Engineers just with grenade launchers. As you can imagine, they're pretty effective if you can get them up close to other ranged units. So last ranged unit is the Nolan Engineers again. Just with repeater rifles. These guys are good against, mid-range. Not the long range is for the Hochland long rifles. So these guys are very good at taking out infantry that they see, fighting your infantry pretty much. So let's move on to the 7 different cavalry. So first up, these good looking units are the Inner Circle Knights. These guys are very good shock cavalry against pretty much any sort of infantry. Let's move on to the Knights of the Blazing Sun. These guys are my personal favorite cavalry units because they have really cool golden armor or gold tent. So let's move on to the Knights of Moor with their really flaming hot armor, which I think is pretty cool. They're really good shock cavalry also, just like their other kind. These guys are the Knights Panther. I don't really know how they got that name, but they have some really cool looking helmets, that's for sure. Next up, we have the Knights in Carmine. These guys got some flaming hot armor with they actually dual wield swords, so they're very good in close combat too. So over here we have the Mounted Swordsmen. These guys are not your typical shock cavalry, so they'll pretty much do whatever you want. They're good in close combat also. Last but not least, we have Knights of the White Wolf. These guys have some really cool looking armor, that's for sure. Horses look pretty spiffy too. Now we're going to move on to the Bretonnia faction with 2 infantry units, 1 ranged unit, and 3 new cavalry units. So first up here we have the Battle Pilgrims. These guys are very light infantry units, but they have some cool looking guild armor, that's for sure. Here we have the Squires. These guys are the step above the Battle Pilgrims. They're definitely more ready for combat than they are. Here we have our first ranged unit, and the only ranged unit, the Bandits. These guys can actually go outside of the spawning zone, so that's really helpful when sneaking in combat. So our first cavalry unit is going to be the Questing Knights. These guys sort of look like the that one cavalry unit the Empire had. That's pretty cool. Here we have the step above the Quest Knights is the Grail Knights with great weapons. These guys have some really cool helmets, and they're very good at charges. So now we're going to move on to the Greenskins, which has 5 new infantry units. I'm excited to show you. So first up for the Greenskins, we have black orcs with shields. These are just the black orcs, but with shields, which I think are really cool. Now we're going to be moving on to orc biguns, whatever, with great weapons. These guys, you don't want to mess with these guys. These guys take out the infantry non-stop. Here we have some more biguns with shields. Nothing really special. I like the armor though. That's some cool looking armor. So now we have a spear unit. It's the Orc Spear Boys. This is going to be a good frontline unit against cavalry, that's for sure. Last but not least, the lightest unit is just goblins, but with swords. Yeah, they look pretty cool. I forgot how the regular goblins are. I think they have spears, right? I might be wrong. Anyway, so we're gonna move on to the vampire counts with one new melee unit and one new cavalry unit. So for the first infantry unit and the only infantry unit, we have the Grave Guard with some halberds. Good against cavalry, good against infantry, good against everything because they're Grave Guard. And next up, and for the only cavalry unit for the vampire counts, we have the Mounted Skeletons. These guys are going to be lighter cavalry units. I really like how now they have a lighter cavalry unit because that'll be really helpful in combat. Speed around the map. Don't have to rely on dire wolves. So now let's move on to the Chaos units. They only have one cavalry unit. These guys are the Chosen Knights. Oh man, I'd be scared of these guys if I was facing them in a multiplayer battle, that's for sure. These guys, oh man, they charge everything. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this mod review, go ahead and drop a like, just so I know that you guys like it. And comment down below, what was your favorite unit? And I'll leave the link to the mod down in the description. So, you guys have a nice day.